Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
My name is Joe Benora.
Michael Stoller.
We welcome you tonight to Shabbat services. Thank you for joining us. Each of us comes here for a different reason, and we hope to nourish whatever that reason is, and just to be in peace and with community.
Great. Be patient with us. We're not expert leaders. This is our first time leading, so if we mess up, just keep going with us.
We start with our opening song, Ms. Morshir, on page 22, with Cindy Michelasi.
Ms. Morshir, Leom HaShabbat, Tov Leodot Ladonai. Ms. Morshir, Leom HaShabbat, Tov Leodot Ladonai. Uzamer Shimcha Elyon, Uzamer Shimcha Elyon, Le'hagid b'boker aztecha, ve'emunatcha b'leilot. Mizmor shir le'yom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot l'Adonai. Mizmor shir le'yom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot l'Adonai. Uzamer le'shimcha Elyon, Uzamer le'shimcha Elyon, Le'hagid b'boker aztecha, ve'emunatcha b'leilot. Mizmor shir le'yom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot l'Adonai. Mizmor shir le'yom HaShabbat, Tov le'odot l'Adonai.
It is my pleasure to invite up Patricia Rosenmund to lead us in our candle blessing on page 2.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להתהלך בנפש שבת.
We continue with Lahodi on page 20. When we sing verse 9, I invite you to rise and remain standing for the remainder of the song.
Lecha dodi, likat kala, enei Shabbat, lekavela. Lecha dodi, likat kala, enei Shabbat, lekavela. Shamor v'sachor, v'dibur echad. Yishme'anu el ha'meyuchad, Adonai echad, v'shmo echad, v'shemo tifen ve'letila. Lecha dodi, likat kala, enei Shabbat, lekavela. Lecha dodi, likat kala, enei Shabbat, lekavela. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam v'simcha kola toch emune am segula boi khala lechadodi mikhat khala ene Shabbat lekavela lechadodi mikhat khala ene Shabbat lekavela.
We remain standing. We continue with the Barahu on page 28.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamevorach.
Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite Janice Abelman up for the reading of Ma'ariv Aravim on page 30.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishenei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishratehem barakia kirtzono, borei yam v'layla, golel or mipnei hoshech, v'hoshech mipnei or, umavir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimlok Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim.
We continue reading on the bottom of page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your words and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Havarim Amim Yisrael.
We continue with the Shema on page 34. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem
be seated. We will continue chanting the V'ahavta on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושנתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue reading together on page 41. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles and the earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of the land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. Her soldiers home to have no more, to leave no more. The song of the world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue with Mika Moka on page 40.
We continue on the top of page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukar shalom aleinu be'ol kol amo Yisrael v'Yisraelim. We continue with the Vishamru on page 44.
Vishamru b'nei Israel, et al-Shabbat. Shabbat Lidortam, Berit Olam, Kisheshet, Yamim, Asadonai, Et HaShamayim, V'et Haaretz, V'shamru Bnei Israel, Et HaShabbat, La'asot Et HaShabbat Lidortam, Berit Olam, V'shamru Bnei Israel, Et HaShabbat, La'asot Et HaShabbat Lidortam, Berit Olam, Vayom Hashvi, Shabbat Vayinafash, Shabbat Vayinafash, V'shamru Bnei Israel, Et HaShabbat, La'asot Et HaShabbat Lidortam, Berit Olam, V'shamru Bnei Israel, Et HaShabbat, La'asot Et HaShabbat Lidortam, Berit Olam.
Please rise as we continue with our congregational tefillah, beginning on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi tehillatcha. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi tehillatcha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei metim atarav le'hoshia, Morid hatal. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei metim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishene afar, Michamo chabal givurot, Umidom melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'ne'eman atal hachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yalalucha sela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We continue reading responsibly at the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
We continue in the middle of the page on page 58. We acknowledge with thanks that you, our Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever, you are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that were experienced every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O passionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. Please join us for our prayer for peace on page 60, followed by a few moments of silent prayer and reflection.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Kasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Kasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon Bechol HaShalom. Ki ata melech Adon Bechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Kasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Kasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Kasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Kasim Leolam. Kasim Leolam. Kasim Leolam.
Please rise as we continue with our Torah service on page 246.
Al Shloshah Devarim Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu.
Ta'amod, Ariel be Abraham and Sarah, Ta'amod, Rachel, Shifra, be Rachua, Ritzach, Varuma, Gidil. Kind of go to different order here.
You may be seated. You don't need to stand for this part. So this week's Torah portion is Masei. It's the last Torah portion in the book of Bamidbar, Bamidbar meaning numbers. And it's an interesting Torah portion. So it's talking about how the people of Israel have been wandering for 40 years in the desert and the wilderness, and now they're finally making their way to the promised land, to Canaan. And so the part that I'm going to be reading tonight is talking about where they started from and where they're headed to. But the portion goes on to tell us a little bit more about how people were counted, and when they got into the land, God commanded Moses and Aaron to divide the land into sections for each of the 12 tribes. The only tribe who didn't get their own section of land, though, were the Levites. The Levites were considered the educated people, the people who studied, who taught, the construction workers, and the other tribes were the farmers. So they set up this society in each of their 12 areas, in each of their areas, and it was very interesting. I was going to draw a picture of it, and I didn't get to it. But so each tribe was told to give the Levites 4 cities within their area. And so what they did is they would have 4 different communities in this area, and then between the communities there would be open space for them to go and meditate, to think, to just get away from the hustle and bustle of the urban life, which is what they lived in their cities. Then around that part was the outer ring, which is where the farming was to be done. And so they all did this together, and they served almost like a utopian society. The Levites were commanded to study, and they were supposed to set the ethical values for the people. They were supposed to teach the Torah and tell people how they should live in their new land. So, like I said, this is the last book in Bamidbar, meaning numbers, and then we're going to be moving on next week to Devarim, which we hear about the words. Oops.
I can go. Baruch et Adonai Hamvara.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch atah Hamvara leolam vayed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu el Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Ele Masei b'nei Yisrael asher yitzu me'eretz Mitzrayim l'tzivotam v'yad Moshe v'Acharon. V'yiktov Moshe et motzaechem l'maseichem al pi Adonai ve'ela maseichem l'motzaechem. V'yisu me'ramasas b'chodesh harishon b'chamisha ashar yom l'chodesh harishon mimam chorat ha'pesach yitzu v'nei Yisrael v'yad Ramah le'enei kol Mitzrayim. U'Mitzrayim mikbarim et asher hacha Adonai b'chem kol b'chur ve'lohechem asa Adonai shifatim v'yisu v'nei Yisrael me'ramases v'yachanu basukot v'yisu masakot v'yachanu ba'atam asher biksei hamidbar v'yitzu me'itam v'yashov al pi hachirot asher al pnei ba'al tzifon v'yachanu lifnei migdol v'yisu mipnei hachira v'ya'avru b'toch hayam hamidbara v'yelchu derek shloshet yamim b'midbar otam v'yachanu b'mara v'yisu mimra v'yava'u alema uvelim shitem esrim enot mayim v'shivim Timrav v'yachanu sham v'yisu me'ilim v'yachanu al yam sof.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat amet v'chayin olam nata b'tuhenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
You just have to write a name here.
Thank you.
With the Torah in our midst, we now turn our prayers to those in need of healing of mind, body, and spirit. This evening we think of Christian Nystro, Richard Vane, Arthur Lang, Heather Borzak, Dick McLean, Quince Newman, Brooke Ann Gottsman, Bridget Stern, Jim Berry, Jay Field, Mick's family, Len Schultzman, Alan Walski, Joy Rosenthal, Sherry Katz, Irving Philip Muller, Haima Jacobs, Gary Tatiner, Cheryl Ball, John Eulenberg, Rhonda Rhodes, David Medikoff, Rusty Taylor, Rabbi Bruce Goldwasser, Rabbi Fred Wenger, Jean Maynard, Jacqueline Sullivan, Julie Melvin, Carol Niemark, Catherine Smith, Maurice Slodoki, Sarah Warsh, Vic Tussey, George Jacobs, Irving Miller, and those who suffer, for whom we do not know by name. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those who are stricken. May the Holy One of praise mercifully restore them to health and to vigor. May God grant them health of body, health of spirit, and of mind, and let us say, Amen. We continue with the Misha Barak on 253.
Mikor habracha,
We invite up Patricia Rosenman for the Prayer for America on page 258, and Janice Abelman, the Prayer for Israel on 259.
O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen.
O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Yaman, David, Garish, Bet, Abraham, Sarah, Yakva, Mordecai, Bet, Mordecai, Edya. Please rise as we return the Torah to the ark.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai bi'ad Moshe. It's Chaim hi l'machazikim ha v'tom techa lehushar derachecha darkenu am v'chol netivotecha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kekedesh Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Please be seated.
In tonight's Torah portion, Adonai spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "This is the ritual law that Adonai has commanded. Instruct the Israelite people to bring you a red cow without blemish, in which there is no defect on, which no yoke has been laid. You should give it to Eleazar the priest." Who thinks they're sane in this room? Anybody think they're insane? Raise your hand. I agree. I think we're all a little insane. And since we all are already a little insane, we have a choice to come together from a place of love or come together from a place of anger and fear. I have come from a place of anger and fear for most of my life. It took me pretty far, but eventually it started to take me down. The acronym for love is let others voluntarily evolve. The thing about the law is we can change the law. It might not be easy, but we can. I also believe I can change people's minds and opinions through my words and my actions. Again, this is not easy. I recently came across a writer and speaker by the name of Melody Moazzi. She's an Iranian American and advocates for mental health, specifically bipolar and depression. I was inspired by one of her presentations and wanted to share a few takeaways from it. When you hear the word jihad, what's the first thoughts that go through your mind? For me, I automatically think of fear, bad, terrorist. However, the truth is, I really don't know what the definition of jihad means. Melody Moazzi defines jihad as a struggle to find justice in the world and within our own soul. The word jihad reminds me of the word in Judaism, tikkun olam, which means to repair the world or mend the world. I also learned from her presentation that Ms. Moazzi believes that the Islamic religion is very progressive, and the reason she believes that is the religion comes after Judaism and Christianity, so it has to be very progressive. Why share all this with you, and how does this relate to today's Torah portion? Well, I believe we have an already, always way of listening. We listen to everything through a filter. A filter is almost always based out of a past experience, could be a good experience or could be a bad experience. The question for me is, how do I listen? Do I listen through a filter of love or versus a filter of anger and fear? I realize I have a pretty big ego. At times in my life it served me, and other times it doesn't serve me too well. I like the acronym for ego, edge God out. Here's an example where I've let my ego get the best of me. Several years ago, I was part of a group of men and women who struggled with depression. I first started going shortly after my divorce. I was moving into a new place, had my children every other weekend, and I was trying to get adjusted to my new life. This was not an easy time for me. However, the people in this group were really supportive and listened patiently as I shared myself each and every week. After a few years attending this group, I remembered calling a lady in the group. Her name was Shirley. I said, "Shirley, I just wanted to let you know I've decided not to attend the group anymore. I've gotten so much out of my attendance, but I don't feel like I'm getting much value for myself anymore." I was expecting her to say, "Michael, I understand, and best of luck." However, that is not what Shirley said. She said in a pretty loud and hostile voice, "Michael, how selfish are you?" Every week for the last several years, so many men and women have been coming from this group and was there for you. When you don't get what you want, you leave. Have you ever thought that this group is not what you can get from it, but what you can give to others? I hope you start to reconsider your decision and decide to stay. There's many people who will need you and what you offer in the future. Well, after that, I decided to stay for a few more years. As you know, the world is changing very fast. New laws seem to be passed every day. Many of the laws really scare me and make me angry and fearful. However, while I realize I'm already insane, I have a choice to choose to come from a place of love, or I could come from a place of fear. I pray that I don't let my ego get the best of me and edge God out. Shabbat Shalom.
So the text for this song that Sue and I are going to do for you this evening comes to us from Pirkei Avot and the Haggadah. It says, "Render unto God that which is God's, for all that you have is God's. Sing before God a new song." This is Tain Lo Mishalo.
תן לו משלו שאתה ושלך שלו, תן לו משלו שאתה ושלך שלו.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for celebrating Shabbat with us tonight. I'm Jacob Cinnamon Murphy, and honored to share short announcements with you this evening. Thank you to our usher, John Berman. Thank you to Cindy Michelasi for our beautiful music, and to Sue Leftwich for the duet, and to Joe Benura and Mike Stoller for helping to lead services today. Our next Lunch and Learn is Wednesday, August 10th with Paul Lipps, who will cover the topic of the Arab-Israeli minority. Join us Tuesday, August 9th, for the Dinner in the Lot Summer Series. Next Shabbat is Pet Shabbat. We will not have a streaming option as the event will take place outside. Bring your furry family members and join us as we celebrate Shabbat. Not so furry pets are also welcome. Thank you to the security team for being here tonight. For all the details on each event, check out our weekly happenings email, and please join us after services for a wonderful oneg in the social hall. Shabbat Shalom.
It is my pleasure to invite Janice Abelman and Rachel Wood to the bima to open our ark. Our services continue on page 282 with the Eleno. Please rise.
Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else. We bow our head in reverence and worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One. Praise be God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One. Praise be God. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One. Praise be God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One. Praise be God. Amen.
Please be seated.
ונאמר בחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who have died at this season in the years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We join together as a community and acknowledge Sophie Edwards, mother of Cynthia Sawyer, Louise Goldman, mother of Lynn Sullivan, Sam Zietlin, grandfather of Barb Tischler, Wolf E. Myro, father of Carol Niemark, Aaron Kanowitz, grandfather of Edward Silverstein, Sophie Marowitz, grandmother of Carol Niemark, Lillian Vader, grandmother of Jennifer Borrow, Richard Kinsley, brother-in-law of Ann Stein, Blanche Leadowitz, aunt of Carol Niemark, Sarah Blumen, sister of Leela Warshawski, Jerry Gilbert, great-uncle of Susan Rothschild, Eli Rubin, father of Florence Herbach and grandfather of Alan Herbach, Joan Foreman, Stephen E. Cohen, brother of Eva Lee Neufeld, Bradley Eagerman, father of Aaron, Andrea, and Corey Eagerman. We mourn the recent passing of Cheryl Hildebrand, mother of Sharon Siebert, Jerry Lerner, father of Marla Huddlestein. We continue The Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Please rise.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam olalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekutsha barichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. V'imru, amen. V'imru, amen. V'imru, amen. V'imru, amen.
Please be seated. We conclude our services with adoration on page 283.
So we're going to close this evening on page 13.
My apologies.
That's okay. There was a mistake in the outline. It was not Joe. So we're going to close this evening with the song Ya'aloz Sadai on page 13. If you look at the Hebrew at the bottom, count 4 lines up from the bottom of the page, and there's where our piece begins. Ya'aloz Sadai. Ya'aloz Sadai v'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai. Ay, 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 az yiranenu kol atzei yahar. 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai. Ay, 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 az yiranenu kol atzei yahar. 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'chol asher bo Ya'aloz Sadai. Ay, 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 ay.
We're going to all together say the Kaddish and Motzi. It's still here. Wonder why.
First?
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Enjoy your
Thank
evening.
you for joining us.
Gotta be stay.